Hello, everyone. My name is David Shann. I'm a doctoral candidate at Stony Brook University, and more importantly, a violist. And I'm here with Matthew Lipman, our newly appointed viola faculty. We've been working together for a while now, and we're doing something new this year, featuring Mentor Mondays, having a student interview their teacher to learn a little bit more about what we do and who you are. So, Matt, what has the viola experience been for you during this pandemic situation?
Oh, starting with the difficult questions, I see. Um, no, it's good. It's been totally bizarre. One of the things that has remained intact is kind of keeping in touch with all of you at Stony Brook, which has been amazing to be able to continue teaching um, online with Zoom, like we sort of are having this conversation right now. Um, because it gives some consistency to life. Everything else, though, has been completely upended, as I'm sure everybody can relate. Um, and so, specifically with music and viola, I think the challenge is how to stay obviously motivated, how to feel like what you're doing is relevant in the world when there are no concerts going on. Trying to avoid existential crises.
Yeah,
So it's really a challenge. And what I found has worked for me in the past, I don't know how long has it been now, 6 months, um, is to kind of separate the violist as a performer from the violist as a curious artist, which has been incredibly helpful because all of a sudden now music has become interesting in a way that it was when I was a child. Whereas in the last 5, 10 years, everything has been working towards a goal of a concert or whatever. And um, these days, it really feels like an exploration, discovering as you go. So in a way, it's kind of fresh. Of course, there's no way to hold yourself accountable for hours or even days with practicing, but what does happen has been really refreshing. So
yeah, yeah, I would agree with that. At the beginning of that question, you mentioned staying in contact, and I think we had something similar, right? My summer had been sort of upended, really inconsistent to my normal practice schedule, and I was, going all over safely to my hometown and stuff. And we had a Zoom meeting, and you sort of pointed that out. It was nice to be able to contact you midsummer, which we normally wouldn't do, right? And you gave me some good practice tips. And I've been able in this time to really work on, reframing things that would normally you don't have time to adjust, right? You just got to go with it.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah.
totally. Time has a whole new meaning right now. I actually remember that you asked me some question about how to practice. I can't even remember what exactly it was, but at the time I had been tuned to A415 for like a month and only using Baroque bow because there's no reason to tune back. And I was trying to
Yeah.
explain like something about articulation, demonstrate, and I was like, oops, like this is Baroque bow.
Yeah. You were playing, well, so that brings, you were tuned to 415 because you were doing a concert, right? Which I saw clips of on your Instagram. Seems like you've been doing some pretty cool things. So you had a concert recently, right? A trio in Columbus, Ohio?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so the last week of August, I went to the Vivo Music Festival, which was started by a few friends of mine in Columbus, and I have family in Columbus. So I've been going there for like 5 years, and it was the first kind of real life thing I've done since this whole pandemic. And I think one of the reasons why that was even possible was, first of all, because the artistic directors were courageous, but also they were creative. right? They found a space, they found a way to be safe, to live stream a concert in the place of kind of an actual concert. So it sort of did feel, although it was really just a recording, it sort of did feel nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was nice to see that. That was some of the first chamber music I was seeing performed since everything. And you can't see the audience on Instagram, so I fully assumed that there was some sort of audience situation.
No one was there.
Great empathy. Nice.
Just cameraman. Just that. Yep.
So to talk more about the viola, uh, one question I do have for you is what, as you transition from being a student to a professional, and I know that was sort of a smoother gradient in your situation, what advice do you have for musicians that are transitioning from being a student to professional? How did you negotiate that field?
It's a difficult question. I think it's very challenging. A career in music is very challenging. But one thing that I think is a misconception and happens in conservatory training all the time is that many people feel that there is a prescribed template on how to gain access or become successful in the field. And although I will admit I have been very lucky and in many ways have benefited from some kind of prescribed avenues, I will say that nothing is like you think it will be. And every step of the way, you have to be creative, you have to make meaningful work, make meaningful music, and collaborate with people no matter what you're doing. If it's chamber music, if it's orchestra, if it's solo, if you're commissioning a piece, everything's collaborative. Um, and I've found that pretty much without fail, anything I've kind of phoned in didn't really work or wasn't really successful. And vice versa, anything that really felt meaningful, well, those times actually did wind up being the ones that helped me advance in my career. And even if they don't, at least you've done some. I mean, we're artists, right? At least you've done something um, that fuels your fire, if you will. You know. Um, but yeah, collaboration. I think being outgoing helps, and if you're not, try.
Yeah, solid. Okay. Yeah, that is a tough question, and also a lot of really good information to digest there.
Yeah, I didn't answer anything, but
No, it's one of those posed in a very confusing way. So your time at Stony Brook, have you found, because you were Heidi Castleman's TA, correct?
yes.
So lots of teaching experience, and that's been helpful, I'm sure. Was there anything getting a faculty teaching position at a university such as Stony Brook that surprised you when you entered the field?
Well, much of it surprised me. I have to just say that although it was surprising, it's been one of the greatest joys of my life, um, teaching at Stony Brook. And I was 25 when I interviewed for the job. I had teaching experience as a TA, but not any sort of real professorship, and I had no expectations at all. And so when Larry, the other viola professor, asked if I would come, I was just like, okay, like sure. I mean, why not? But it's been amazing. It's been so gratifying in so many ways. It's like I don't think there's any, honestly, really, there's nothing better than trying to help somebody. I don't, all I can do is try to help, but you know, to see a eureka moment is like the most gratifying thing in the world. And of course, all of you were like friends and colleagues. Like I don't really feel like a teacher. It just feels like I can offer some support and advice, maybe.
Which
uh,
has happened on many occasions in our lessons. It's been a lot of moral support. Um, that has been one of the things that I appreciated most about Stony Brook. When I started at Stony Brook for my master's, it was Nicholas Cords and Larry Dutton, who you mentioned. Um, and I, at the time, was very appreciative of the sort of spectrum of teaching that was offered by both of them. And then when Nick left for his position at New England Conservatory, you stepped in, and I felt like that dynamic was still intact. You know, there's still a very wide, you know, sort of pantheon of advice happening. You know, Larry, the legend, always teaching me something new. And then being able to ask you questions about, you know, we're in similar points of our life. And that, I think that that is incredibly helpful to have in a teacher. It's been awesome.
it's fun. It's also really fun just trying to figure out how the actual instrument works.
Yeah.
You know, it's a cliche to say, but you know, teaching other people kind of helps teach yourself, and that's been really fun to explore. Um, you kind of circle in on exactly what kind of obsessions you have with the instrument. You know, I find myself repeating all the time, as you know, the same things, and I'm just like, wow, like, okay, I get that. Also, with Larry, that's been interesting and amazing because he is so generous and so nice. And you know, if any student comes in and I ask for something and they said, well, Larry said to do the opposite, I'll always say, do what Larry said. However, let's talk about what it is that we're picking up on here. Why do we want why did I suggest this change? What can we change? Yeah, do exactly what Larry said, but let's go further. And so and I like working like that anyway. I like kind of asking questions, and all of you are so great and curious and clearly intelligent. So
And it paves the way for more discussion about exactly what you just said. Argumentative reasoning for why we're doing what we're doing. So that's always a recipe for success. To turn to a more corny note here, why the viola, Matt? What brought you to the viola?
I want to hear from you too, but it was an accident. My intention was to play trumpet because as a kid I was the shofar player in synagogue, and so trumpet seemed like the logical instrument to go to, but it was offered like a year later than strings in school, and so my intention was to switch to trumpet anyway, and so the director was like, you should just play viola because no one ever picks viola. Um,
Yeah,
that's how it started, and obviously I never switched. And I'm really happy about that. I love the viola.
yeah, it's a good time. Uh, it's funny that you say trumpet was going to be yours because saxophone was mine. I was obsessed with the saxophone, um, which says a lot more about me if you know me. And in high school, throughout high school, I also did bass drum and marching band. So I was kind of all over the place in music nerdism, and it was a great time. I did violin for a long time. I did my undergrad in violin. Um, and I just was frustrated, I think, as most musicians and students are, about the path and like where that was going to lead me and what am I going to do with my life, all those questions, you know. And so I started subbing on viola in Michigan in a couple local symphonies and gigs around. And immediately I just felt better. I think it fit my personality better. I think my anxieties went away, and I felt like I was pretty good at it. So I just dove into that path. And then once you start investigating the viola and its potential, I mean, it's heavily underestimated and joked about, but it really, the colors and textures that you can make with a viola are amazing.
Did everybody hear that? Coming from a violinist, a former violinist.
Don't at me, violinists, but
No, interesting. Circling back to the question, one of the first questions that you posed, um, what it means to be a violist in 2020 is very different than what it meant in 1975. First of all, classical music is changing, which is a good thing. I think it's time, and the kind of tropes of the past are perhaps out the door more and more. And so, as far as I'm concerned, whatever you can dream of is a possibility, and there's nothing limiting about playing the viola anymore that there once was. I mean, we're no longer third violin section. I mean, really,
yeah,
um, new music is, I think, one of the ways to move forward. It should be a huge part of what we all do, and yeah, there's an appreciation for the tone of it that wasn't previously there. So I think the sky's the limit.
definitely. Especially as we sort of find our way out of this world that we're in now. I mean, we're all in that position where we need some sort of avenue to move forward. So working with composers on new music, and I think it's a great time to really do that.
Or
And,
415 for 2 months.
or that. It's all about those spectrums, right?
I would recommend it, by the way. I think it totally changed my playing for the
Yeah.
better.
How so? Well, we don't need to make this a viola lesson, but is there
No,
like
no, no,
in,
no, no. I don't know. That's the thing. I mean, it's just like whenever you ask me in lessons, I'm always like, huh. I try to think of something. Um, the resonance is completely different. Um, Access to warmth, roundness, which are great traits of tone that the viola has, is much easier. Um, yeah, it just rings differently. You have to try less hard with the bow, so inflection is completely different. And then when you turn the tension back up, I think a lot of us are used to, with modern setups and big halls, trying to kind of crank out the sound. And I'm not concerned with that anymore, because if the thing is resonating and you're spinning the string, we always talk about that in lessons, body balance so that you're not forcing it, and it's just spinning. It just sounds great. I don't know. It's like the viola sounds better when you're not pressing it.
yeah, yeah, which we talk about a lot because that's been one of the things you've been lighting the lighting the path for me in. Anyways, to get away from us being complete viola nerds for just a second here, and to sort of wrap it up, I want to talk about something really cool that we're doing at Stony Brook for this online semester. In our orchestra, which at Stony Brook we normally have orchestra weeks where we get together and have rehearsals and then put on a concert. It's a very short, compacted orchestra experience. This year, we're doing recorded excerpts and sort of doing mock panels for each other. And the Viola Studio has negotiated with Cynthia Phelps, correct? And we are going to play them for her and work with her. And I think that is awesome. Can you tell me a little bit about how that came to be?
Yeah, okay, so the secret is that this might be one of the only things the pandemic has been a blessing in disguise for, because I've asked Cindy multiple times if she could come, and she's always too busy, understandably. She's the principal viola of the New York Phil. She teaches at Juilliard and has a busy quartet and solo career as well. I mean, really, one of my heroes. I never even studied with her or worked with her, but I don't know. The respect is like off the charts. I think
Yeah.
it's amazing. And we're also Instagram buddies, so we always comment on each other's Instagram. But anyway, I just thought I would ask her again, and she finally said yes. So we're so lucky. And I think Alan Kay, the director of the SBSO, right, the Symphony Orchestra, came up with a great idea, which is the mock audition panel in place of orchestra, because many of us will be taking orchestra auditions at some point in our lives, and so to have that kind of experience at school seems invaluable. And so there are 8 violists at Stony Brook, and we have 8 excerpts. And for the audition, everyone has to play all 8, but for the class with Cynthia, everyone was assigned one specific one to play for her so that she can kind of tell us how they all go. And I'm really looking forward.
I know. I'm geeking out about it. It's going to be awesome. Um, well, awesome. It's been great to catch up with you again. I will see you tomorrow for our viola class. But it's been great to sort of talk to you in this setting and get to know more about what you think about Stony Brook.
Yeah,
And
it's such a pleasure. Thank you for interviewing me. Looking forward to a day when we can have in-person lessons too.
yes, one day. All right. Goodbye, Matt.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.